Greetings. This is the story behind and the song DeFuniak Springs by Steve Gatacek. My name is Mike Eisenberg, and I'm proud to be able to have called Steve Gatacek a friend. Regretfully, Steve is no longer with us, but I've been editing some of his recordings of stories and songs. And here we have the story behind the song, DeFuniak Springs, and then a recording of the song. Steve always liked to tell the tale behind this song before he would sing it. Unfortunately, we don't have any recording of Steve's intro or the song itself as sung by Steve. However, there is a version of DeFuniak Springs recorded professionally by the Lindsay family, a singing group, quote, featuring an ever-changing arrangement of 11 siblings, end quote. You can see their website, www.lindsey-family.com. So here's my retelling of Steve's story about the song DeFuniak Springs, and then on to the recording by the Lindsay family, used with their generous permission. So Steve was on one of his trips down from upstate New York to Florida. Steve loved Florida, in the winter that is, and not only because of his beloved namesake Florida Gators football team. Steve just loved Florida, and he often would travel down to Florida in the winter. And he was driving down the coast, and I'm not sure how far he had gotten, but I think it was south of the Mason-Dixon line, when he pulled into a truck stop for a break and a bite to eat. Steve was in a booth minding his own business, and then in the next booth over, there were two guys talking pretty loud. One in particular was mouthing off about something to do with songs. Something like, "How come there's no song about typical places in town? It's always about the big places. New York, New York. I left my heart in San Francisco. Chicago, my kind of town. Why doesn't someone ever write about the little places like my hometown?" Now, we can argue whether or not that's true or not, because there's John Mellencamp's song, Small Town, and plenty of others about lots of different places in this country and elsewhere. But there's no point arguing about that here. But Steve turned around and looks the guy in the eyes, and he says, "Well, I can write a song about your hometown. In fact, I can do it in a half hour." "What?" the guy says. "What are you talking about?" And Steve repeats himself. "I can write a song about your hometown in 30 minutes. In fact, I'll bet you $100 that I can do it. What's the name of your town?" Well, the guy stammers a bit and finally spits out, "DeFuniak Springs. That's in Florida. How would you write about that? And how would we judge if your song was any good?" Steve answers, "Well, we can have your friend judge. I'll go out to my car, write the song, and come back and sing it to you. If your buddy here says it's a good song, then I get the $100. If not, I pay you." Never mind that Steve didn't have $100 to his name. He was pretty confident. The guy says, "Okay, it's a deal. But the song also has to include my wife's name. Her name is Mary Lou. And you've got to do a really good song about DeFuniak Springs, and it has to include Mary Lou." Steve agrees, stands up, shakes the guy's hand, and says, "Deal. I'll be back." Steve begins to walk out to his car, humming a tune. In about 20 minutes, Steve comes back in, sits down, unfolds a sheet of paper, and says, "Okay, I got it." The guy is incredulous. He says, "What? You didn't even take the half hour." Steve says, "That's okay. Here it is. Let me know what you think." And Steve then proceeds to sing the first verse, which is this. "I remember the day when I first went away from that place where the mockingbird sings, from the folks that I knew and my love, Mary Lou, from my home in DeFuniak Springs." And then, In 4 more verses and 2 bridges, Steve tells the story of a guy who leaves DeFuniak Springs to seek his fame and fortune. But in the end, he realizes that true happiness lies back in DeFuniak Springs with his true love, Mary Lou. When Steve finishes, the guy is speechless. Finally, he and Steve turn to his friend. They look at him, and the friend chuckles and says, "Wow, pay the man," which the guy does. And that's how the song DeFuniak Springs came to be. Now, I can't verify that it's all true, but I can tell you this. Whenever I've tried to fact check about a Steve Gatorcheck story, there's always a lot more fact than fiction. And now on to the song as recorded by the Lindsay family, DeFuniak Springs.
When I first went away from that place where the mockingbird sings, from the folks that I knew and my love Mary Lou, from my home in DeFuniak Springs. Mary Lou, please don't cry, wipe the tear from your eye. I must leave here to give my dream wings. She let go of my hand and said, "I understand." I left her in DeFuniak Springs.
I saw fortune and fame. I thought I'd make a name and be spoke up by rich men and kings.
But I didn't find gold. I found hunger and cold and the misery that loneliness brings. I went here, I looked there, Lord, I searched everywhere, thinking that I would find paradise. But I failed in my schemes, till last night in my dreams I found heaven in Mary Lou's eyes. So I'm leaving this town, oh yes, I'm going down to that place where the mockingbird sings, where my love waits for me. That's where I want to be, going home to DeFuniak Springs.
Mary Lou, I love you, you know I do. I'm gonna buy you a gold wedding ring.
I tell this town goodbye, then I'll walk, run or fly to your love in DeFuniak Springs.
Mary Lou, I love you, you know I do. I'm gonna buy you a gold wedding ring.
I tell this town goodbye, then I'll walk, run or fly to your love in DeFuniak Springs.